Look, I've been doing this a long time, but I love what I do with more than anything, and I love this team. I really, really, really love this team. I love the fans that we have. And to be able to do this, to still be able to do this, it's such a privilege for me to be able to continue to do what I feel like I was born to do in my life. And
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this day every year. However, it's the kind of days where the main target is to kind of check that everything is working properly and that there are no big problems, which was the case today. So that is a positive. But in terms of performance, in terms of feeling, it's too early to say. The conditions weren't that great either. There's a lot of fog, a little bit of a wet track as well. So it's not the best conditions to test a car for the first time. But I was very excited because there's been so much talk and so much work behind the scene in order to get to that moment ready, and so that the car could obviously go around the track normally and check for the first time the real sensors on the car to see whether it was doing the things that we expected. So yeah, it's been a very exciting moment, especially because being in Fiorano, there's a lot of tifosi all around the track, and that adds to that very special feeling.
Imagine being in front of a machine that could change the history of Formula One. What would you do if you were Charles Leclerc or Lewis Hamilton and witnessed something that you never thought possible in a modern car? That was exactly what happened on January 16, 2026 in Maranello. Do you want to know why they were both shocked? January 16, 2026. The calendar marked one more date of the European winter, but in Maranello, something extraordinary was about to happen. The sun had not yet reached its highest point, the air was thick and sharp, and inside the Ferrari Technical Center, the atmosphere had nothing to do with the usual lethargy of the preseason. Quite the opposite. It was pure tension, expectation, and contained silence. On Ferrari's most advanced test bench, the SF26 engine, known internally as Project 678, was seconds away from being fired for the first time. But it wasn't just the usual routine in developing a new car. This ignition marked the outcome of a drastic decision that Ferrari had made months ago, stopping the development of the SF25 in the middle of the 2025 season, giving up immediate results, to concentrate absolutely all its resources on a single objective: redesign its future from scratch. Charles Leclerc, the Monegasque who has carried the symbolic weight of Tifosi hope for years, was next to Lewis Hamilton, who was just beginning his time as a Ferrari driver. Both watched the monitors with almost surgical attention, while veteran engineers with serious faces and clasped hands waited in silence. There were no jokes. There were no motivational speeches. Just a technical murmur that anticipated something bigger than usual. When the engine finally came to life, the sound it emitted was unlike anything recorded in the hybrid era of Formula One. It was a disturbing mix of compressed electrical energy with an aggressive, vibrating mechanical resonance, which even some engineers described as unnatural. That roar was not the product of marketing, nor of a simulator. It was real. A fusion of power and sophistication that no other team had achieved. Leclerc's reaction was subtle but revealing. He crossed his arms tightly, bowed his head slightly, and although he didn't say a word, his look reflected something more than surprise. For the first time, he seemed to believe the speech he had repeated so many times about Ferrari's potential. There was a mix of relief, validation, but also pressure. There were no excuses now. Hamilton, on the other hand, reacted in an unusually emotional way. He took out his mobile phone, recorded a short clip of the sound, and it was not a show gesture or a network whim. It was an act of documentation, almost as if I needed to keep tangible evidence that that moment had occurred. An intimate gesture from someone who has seen it all, who has won it all, but who understands when something is truly different. And behind that sound, there was an even more powerful story. Both pilots had already had access to the engine data before ignition. What they saw in those reports was what really shook them. 3 key words changed the rules of the game: unprecedented thermal efficiency, aggressive hybrid integration, and stable power delivery throughout the entire lap. They were not pretty numbers for an internal presentation. They were real data, verifiable, measurements, and completely outside of what was thought possible. That morning, Ferrari not only started a new engine, it ignited a completely new idea of what could be competitive in the 2026 era. It ignited the imagination of its pilots, the alarm of its rivals, and the hope, still fragile but vibrant, of millions of Tifosi who have waited almost 2 decades for a true red revolution. What Leclerc and Hamilton witnessed that day was the beginning of a story that could change Formula One forever. For more than 40 years, the material of choice for manufacturing engine heads in Formula One has been the same: aluminum. Lightweight, durable, easy to machine, efficient heat conductor. It was the logical decision. It was what everyone did, from technology giants to modest teams. Aluminum wasn't just standard, it was dogma. Any deviation was considered madness, technical suicide. No one dared to break with that, until now. Ferrari did it. When it became known that the SF26 would feature advanced alloy steel cylinder heads, the news was met with disbelief by much of the paddock. Steel is heavier, denser. It sounds contradictory to everything that means performance in Formula One, but that is precisely what makes this decision so revolutionary. Because Ferrari didn't just change one material, it changed an entire paradigm of technical thinking. What allowed this move was a silent but critical change in the 2026 regulations. The increase in the minimum weight of power units from 120 to 150 kilograms. This alteration, at first glance harmless, opened a window that Ferrari knew how to exploit better than anyone. If all units were to be heavier, then the extra weight of steel was no longer a direct disadvantage. The game was leveling. And that is where the true virtue of steel comes into play, its thermal resistance. While other teams focused on refining their engines within the conventional framework, Ferrari set out to create a platform that could operate closer to the absolute limit of combustion. Steel does not warp like aluminum under extreme heat. You don't get tired as quickly. Allows higher pressures to be maintained for longer without losing structural integrity. And that, in an environment where every millimeter counts, is a devastating advantage. But that was just the beginning. Because Ferrari didn't just use block steel. It applied additive manufacturing techniques, commonly known as industrial 3D printing with metal powders. This allowed components to be designed with internal geometries impossible to achieve through traditional machining. Hollow cavities, strategic reinforcements, cooling channels hidden within the structure itself. Each head became a work of functional engineering. They weren't just sturdy pieces. They were thermal brains designed to think, breathe, and survive fire. The most revolutionary thing was the thermal control they achieved. While conventional engines dissipate heat as best they can, the SF26 tames it. Channels heat exactly where you need it, intensifies combustion, increases the pressure of the gases, generates more thrust, and all this without compromising durability. In a season with 24 races and only 4 engines allowed, that is almost like cheating, but within the regulations. Of course, not everything was successful from the beginning. In the early phases of the project, the steel heads presented serious problems. Microfractures, fatigue deformations, structural failures under prolonged thermal cycles. It seemed like an idea doomed to failure. But Ferrari did not walk alone. AVL, the Austrian firm that specializes in validation of hybrid units, intervened with its dynamic stress simulations and structural modeling. What once seemed like a dead end became an open road to a new frontier of thermal design. Thanks to them, Ferrari achieved something that no one else has: a combustion base capable of performing at the limit without collapsing. The leaked reports indicate a thermal efficiency of 48%, a figure that until now was only a theoretical utopia in modern F1. To put it in context, the average of the rest of the grid is around 45 to 46%. That extra 1 or 2% may not seem like much, but in Formula One that's an eternity. They are sharp tenths per turn. These are opportunities for overtaking where they did not exist before. It is a world title hidden in the chemistry of steel. What Ferrari did with the SF26 was not simply taking risks. It was rewriting the technical basis of the category. With a decision that many called suicidal, they have created a machine that can change the game. And that explains why both Leclerc and Hamilton couldn't take their eyes off the data. This was not an incremental advance. It was a revolution disguised as an engine. There are moments in Formula One where technology intersects with something much deeper, more human. Not everything comes down to efficiency numbers or internal structures made by 3D printing. There are times when the true impact of an innovation is measured in the eyes of the pilots, in what they do not say but cannot hide. Both pilots, with different objectives, converge on the same point: urgency. Leclerc wants to stop being the eternal future of Ferrari and become the present. Hamilton wants to close his career at the top, in a mythical setting, with a narrative that only the greatest have had the privilege of writing. And all of that depends on a single factor: whether the SF26 delivers on its promise. But with this technical revolution comes a new kind of pressure. There is no longer any room to hide behind the slow car argument. The responsibility to capitalize on this progress is absolute. For Leclerc, that means executing with surgical precision every weekend, avoiding youthful mistakes, keeping a cool head at critical moments. For Hamilton, it means adapting faster than ever to a new philosophy, a different culture, and demonstrating that his competitive instinct is still intact. The road to the title in 2026 will not just be a fight between cars. It will be a war between narratives. Between the heir who seeks to crown himself and the emperor who wants to close his reign with absolute glory. They both know that the window of opportunity won't be open for long. And both are clear that the time to act is now. This is not just a duel between teammates. It is an uneasy alliance with a common goal, to return Ferrari to the greatness that for so long seemed unattainable. But at the same time, it is a race between them to see who writes their name first in the most anticipated chapter in the modern history of Formula One. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.